Welcome to the class of economics. So today we will start with from macroeconomics is chapter 11, that is foreign exchange rate. Now these are the contents which we are going to finish today, that is meaning of foreign exchange rate, currency depreciation versus currency appreciations, types of foreign exchange rate, demand and supply of foreign exchange and foreign exchange market. Now first starting with meaning of foreign exchange. So foreign exchange, whenever we refer to or whenever we hear this word, it refers to all the currencies of rest of the world other than the domestic currency of our country that can be considered as foreign exchange rate. That means our domestic currency other than our domestic currency, whatever currency which is existing in rest of the world in other countries, that can be called as foreign exchange rate. For example, in India, US dollar is the foreign exchange, and the rate at which one currency is exchanged to for another is called as foreign exchange rate. That means whatever our currency, when it is exchanged to US dollar or pounds or any other country's currency, that can be called as foreign exchange rate. In other words, the foreign exchange rate is the price of one country's currency which is stated in terms of another country's currency. For example, if one US dollar exchange for 60 Indian rupees, then the rate of exchange is, that is $1 is equal to rupees 60, or we can say 1 rupees is equal to 1 divided by 60 or 0.0166 US dollar. Now currency appreciation and currency depreciation. Currency appreciation here means, appreciation means something which is motivated at high. So currency appreciation refers to increase in the value of our domestic currency in terms of or in comparison to foreign currency. The domestic currency becomes more valuable. That means our country's currency is having high rate or it is having more valuable in comparison to another country's currency, and less of it is required to buy a foreign currency. That means if we see our domestic currency, we require less currency to purchase another country's currency which is devalued or which is not having much value. It is a part of flexible exchange rate. That means this kind of currency appreciation is a part of flexible exchange rate. For example, Indian rupee appreciates, that means the value of Indian rupee, if it is increasing, when price of $1 it falls from rupees 60 to our currency rate falls from 60 to rupees 55. Effect of appreciation of domestic currency on imports. That means then it will, if currency appreciation is there, then it will have the effect on our imports. That means our imports will increase. Why? Because we require less amount to purchase or having imports from other country. Appreciation of domestic currency means a rise in the price of domestic currency, say rupee. So in terms of foreign currency, say dollar for example. Now 1 rupee can be exchanged for more dollars, that is with the same amount of money more goods can be purchased from USA or from any other countries. So it leads to increase in our imports. Why? Because our currency is much valuable. So we require less amount to purchase another country's products. So imports will automatically obviously increase and the goods will become relatively cheaper. That is American goods for us will become relatively cheaper. Now the second, just opposite to that, that is currency depreciation, when it refers to decrease in the value of our domestic currency in comparison to other countries' currency or foreign currency. It makes the domestic currency less valuable, and because of it, it makes our domestic currency less valuable and more of it is required to buy a foreign currency. It is a part of flexible exchange rate. Again, for example, rupee is said to be depreciating, that means value of rupee will be decreasing if price of $1 rises from rupees 60 to rupees 65. Effect of depreciation of domestic currency on exports, that means it will have its effect on our exports. Depreciation of domestic currency means a fall in the price of our domestic currency, say rupees, in terms of foreign currency. It means with the same amount of dollars, more goods can be purchased from India, that is exports to USA will increase as it will become relatively cheaper for foreign countries to purchase goods from our country. So our exports will increase then. Now there are types of foreign exchange rates. The first is fixed exchange rate system, which can also be called as pegged exchange rate system. The system of exchange rate in which exchange rate is officially declared by government and fixed by the government only. That means it is declared, it is fixed by the government only, the exchange rate system, that is fixed exchange rate system. When domestic currency is tied to the value of foreign currency, that means when our domestic currency is compared or fixed with other countries' currency, it is known as pegging. That means this particular act will be called as pegging. To maintain stability in fixed exchange rate system, government buys foreign currency. That means it is in the hands of government. Government is purchasing the foreign currency when exchange rate appreciates and sell the foreign currency when exchange rate depreciates. This process is called as pegging operation. That is all efforts made by the central bank to keep the rate of exchange fixed or stable. Now, fixed exchange rate is not, there are certain instructions or note about. So, fixed exchange rate is not determined by forces of demand and supply in the market. Usually, we have certain price related system or maximum retail price according to the demand and supply force, whereas in fixed exchange rate system, it is never determined by forces of demand and supply. Such a rate of exchange has been associated with gold standard system during the year 1880 to 1914. According to this particular system, value of every currency is determined in terms of price or rate of gold, silver or any other precious metal. Accordingly, ratio between gold value of two countries which are fixed as exchange rate between those countries' currency also. That means the exchange rate or the currency rate is fixed according to two countries' gold rates. Okay. So, for example, value of $1 is equal to 100 grams of gold. It is just an example. So, value of a rupee is 5 grams of gold, then $1 is equal to 100 divided by 5 and we get rupees 20. So, the exchange rate will be fixed according to rupees 20 only. Now, there is one another term, that is devaluation of currency. When we say devaluation, it refers to decrease in the value of domestic currency in terms of foreign currency, or we can call this depreciation of currency also, but it is fixed by the government. It is a part of fixed exchange rate system. When we say revaluation, it is appreciation or increase in the value of our domestic currency in comparison to other foreign currency. Now, second is flexible exchange, just like we did fixed exchange rate system or pegged exchange rate system. Now, second is flexible exchange rate system, or we can call it as floating exchange rate system. This system of exchange rate in which value of currency is allowed freely or allowed to float or change freely and determined by demand for and supply of foreign exchange. That means this flexible exchange system is free to change or free to fluctuate according to the forces of demand and supply of foreign exchange in the market. Under this system, the central banks without interference or without interventions allow the exchange rate to change, to adjust freely according to the supply and demand of foreign exchange or currency. Third is managed floating rate system. Managed floating exchange rate is a mixture of flexible exchange rate system and fixed exchange rate system. So, in other words, we can say it refers to a system in which foreign exchange is determined by free market also, that is forces of demand supply, and which can be influenced by interference of or intervention of central bank for foreign exchange rate market. This system is also called as dirty floating, just because central bank interfere or intervene to buy or sell foreign currency in an attempt to stabilize the exchange rate system completely. Movement in case of extreme appreciation or extreme depreciation. Now, the demand for foreign exchange, how we have this system. So, the demand of foreign exchange or outflow of foreign exchange comes from the people who need it to make payment in foreign currency. That means those people who need to make payment in foreign currency, they require this outflow of foreign exchange, and it is demanded by domestic resident. That means this particular demand which is raised or demanded by the normal resident of the country only for the following reason. First, because of imports of goods and services, when the normal resident of our country, if they wanted to purchase or if they are engaged in import of goods and services from foreign nation, they require foreign exchange. When India imports goods and services, foreign exchange is demanded to make the payments of those imports to other country. And tourism, that means when foreign exchange is demanded to meet the expenditure which is incurred during the process of or during the foreign tours. Unilateral transfer sent abroad. Now here unilateral transfer means those transfer in terms of any gift or any kind of financial reward without any productive services. So foreign exchange is also required for making unilateral transfers like sending gifts to other countries. Fourth is purchase of assets in foreign countries. When are resident, it is demanded to make payment for purchase of assets like land, shares, bonds, etc. in foreign countries. It is a part of investment. Then repayment of loans to foreigners. So that means as and when we have to pay interest and to repay the principal amount of loan to foreign lenders, we require foreign exchange rate. And last, speculation activity, that is demand for foreign exchange arises when people are engaged in stock market activities, that is making gains from appreciation of our countries by investing it in the various speculative activities like purchasing shares, debentures and bonds. Now what are the reasons for rise in demand in foreign currency? The demand for foreign currency rises in the following situation. First, when price of foreign currency falls, that means when such kind of demand increases, when price of foreign currency falls in comparison to our country's currency, then imports from foreign country become cheaper for us. So suddenly the demand for foreign currency will increase. And then when a foreign currency becomes cheaper in terms of a domestic currency, that means it can happen when foreign currency becomes cheaper for us in terms of our domestic currency, it promotes tourism. That means lot of people from India will go to visit certain places in other countries just because it is very relatively their currency is cheaper than us. As a result, demand for foreign tourism, foreign tours or foreign currency will increase. Or third situation is when price of foreign currency falls, its demand rises as more and more people want to make gains from various speculative activities. Now demand curve of foreign exchange, how it happens basically. Now here we can see at OY axis we are having rate of foreign exchange, at OX axis we are having quantity demanded for foreign exchange in terms of US dollar. So demand curve of foreign exchange slopes downward. We can see that this curve slopes downward, and due to inverse relationship because there is an inverse or indirect relationship between demand for foreign exchange and foreign exchange rate. In this figure, we can see demand for foreign exchange and rate of foreign exchange are shown on the horizontal axis and vertical axis respectively. That means the rate of foreign exchange, and on vertically we are having this foreign exchange rate. So it means the demand curve of US dollar, this demand curve of US dollar is downward sloping. It means that less foreign exchange rate is demanded as the exchange rate increases. That means between two nations, when foreign exchange rate increases, then there will be less demand of foreign exchange rate. This is due to the fact that rise in the price of foreign exchange increases the rupee cost of foreign goods, which makes them more expensive. So we will not be engaged in importing goods and services from foreign country just because their currency rate is higher than us. As a result, imports decline, our imports will decrease, and the demand for foreign exchange also decreases. Supply of foreign exchange now. The supply or inflow of foreign exchange comes from the people who receive is due to the following reason. First, exports of goods and services. That means when we are engaged in supplying the foreign currency, it happens because of exports of goods and services. That is, supply of foreign exchange comes through exporting the goods and services, or it is required when we are engaged in visiting in tourism. That is, the amount which foreigners spend in the home country increases the supply of foreign exchange, or remittances, that is unilateral transfers from abroad. When somebody from abroad we are receiving, that is Indian person is receiving gifts in terms of any kind of remittances or rewards from abroad. So supply of foreign exchange increases in this concern in the form of gifts and other remittances. Fourth is loan from rest of the world. It refers to borrowing from abroad. When our country people who are borrowing from abroad, a loan from US means flow of US dollar from US to India, which will increase the supply of foreign exchange. Then foreign investment, that means the amount which foreigners invest in our country, in our home country, increases the supply of foreign exchange, or for speculation activities. That means the other supply of foreign exchange comes from those who want to speculate on the value of foreign exchange. That means foreigners who wanted to invest in India in terms of, so then also through this speculation activity we require foreign exchange. Now what are the reasons of rise in supply? When just like we did reasons for rise in demand, reasons for rise in supply of foreign currency. So reasons are, first, when price of a foreign currency rises, domestic goods become relatively cheaper, our goods become cheaper. It induces the foreign country to increase their exports, that is increase their imports from the domestic country, from our country. So in order to that, because of that, our exports will increase. Why? Because foreign for foreign people or for foreign country, it become relatively cheaper to purchase goods or to import goods from our country. And for example, if price of $1 rises from 60 to rupees 65, then exports to USA will increase, as Indian goods will become relatively cheaper, and it will raise the supply of US dollar. Second can be, when price of a foreign currency rises, foreign direct investment, that is FDI, from rest of the world will increase, and which will increase the supply of foreign exchange. Third can be, when price of foreign currency rises, supply of foreign currency also rises, as people wanted to make more and more gains through various speculative activities, that means investing in terms of shares and bonds. Now supply curve of foreign exchange. Now here we can see, at OX axis we are having quantity supplied for foreign exchange in terms of US dollar and rate of exchange. So supply curve of foreign exchange slopes upward. Now here this supply curve is sloping upward, and it is due to positive, that is direct relationship. In demand of foreign exchange curve we are having inverse relationship, whereas in supply of foreign exchange in terms of foreign exchange rate, they are having or sharing direct relationship or positive relationship between supply for foreign exchange and foreign exchange rate, which means that supply of foreign exchange increases as the exchange rate increase. That means if foreign exchange rate increase, supply of foreign exchange will also increasing. This makes home country's goods become cheaper or relatively cheaper to foreigners. Since rupee is depreciating, that means the value of our domestic currency is depreciating, so it becomes relatively cheaper for foreign country to purchase more and more. So the demand for our export should therefore increases as the exchange rate increases. The increased demand for our export will translate into greater supply. That means this increased demand will be reflecting as greater supply of foreign exchange, and the supply of foreign exchange increases as the exchange rate increases. Now here we can see, as the price or rate of exchange rate is increasing, supply is also increasing, showing it with rightward shift. Now foreign exchange rate, basically when we have discussed everything, so it is the market where the national currencies are converted or exchanged or traded for one another country's currency. What are the functions of this foreign exchange market? The first is transfer functions. That means transfer functions refers to transferring of purchasing power among various countries, that is transferring of purchasing power from one country to another country. This is performed through credit instruments like bill of exchange, bank drafts, and various kinds of telephonic transfers. Second function of foreign exchange market is credit function. It says the provision of credit in terms of, or it implies provision of or providing credit in terms of foreign exchange rate for the export and import purpose, or for the purpose of trade of goods and services across different countries of the world. Third is hedging functions. When we say hedging function, it is just to protect the exporter and importer against various kinds of malpractices or foreign exchange rate variations in futures. Hedging is an activity which is designed to basically minimize the risk of loss to exporter as well as importer. Now there are some kinds of this foreign exchange market. So the two kinds are there basically, that is spot market and forward market. Spot market means if the operation of daily nature or daily basis, it is called as spot market, or we can call it current market. The exchange rate that prevails in the spot market for foreign exchange is called as spot rate, and in other words spot rate of exchange refers to rate at which foreign currency is available on the spot or at that particular current time. That is why in this spot market whatever exchange rate is being fixed, that will be called as spot rate. Second is forward market. In this, the foreign exchange for future delivery is known as forward market. That means whatever rate of exchange will be there or foreign exchange rate will be there in near future, that can be called as forward market. Exchange rate that prevails in a forward contract or between transaction or between exporter and importer for purchase or sale of foreign goods or services, whichever is decided, that will be called as forward market. This rate at which a future contract for foreign currency is bought and sold, that can be called, that will be decided here, and that can be called as forward rate. So thank you dear students, this is all about. We will meet again in the next video. Till then, bye.